Welcome to tutorial class number 7, Opus 2020. I'm going to start with a prelude today. It's written by Bach, it's written for cello, and it's from the Bach Suite number 1. I'm going to do it on viola. Thanks for being here. Next up is Jared, and you're going to be working on the, we're playing the Debussy Arabesque number 1. You said you were ready for anything today, right?
Throw it at me and we'll see what we can do.
Yeah. So the volume's going to be a little bit more for your piano piece, right?
And go back and forth.
I got it. Okay, so I would like to introduce you to our guest coach today.
Uh-oh.
I told you, get ready. So, it's going to be Stewart Newbold.
Oh, great. We should do a clarinet piano something then on Zoom.
Oh, that would be awesome. Awesome.
The Schumann.
So, Stephanie, you want?
You guys are.
What's that?
I'm ready when you are.
Well, before you start, Jared, tell me a little bit about when you look at this piece. What does it mean to you in Debussy's life? When was it written? What does an arabesque mean? Things like that.
Well, I have to admit I probably didn't do as much homework as I should have, but I can say you know, what it means to me. And I mean, I have some understanding of Debussy's literature, you know, his work. So I think arabesque means an evening piece or something in the evening, a reference to the evening. I feel like, you know, this is a very, um, it's not as maybe as esoteric as some of his other harmonies later in his career. I think it might. I would guess it's maybe early or middle of his career, but I don't know that for sure. And it's very indicative of the type of new harmonies and impressionism that he brought to classical music at that time. But in a very, and to me, it's a way that's it's still soft on the ears. I mean, maybe at the time it was revolutionary, but to me, it's a very pleasant, soft, soothing piece, and the harmonies are unique, but not necessarily jarring. Um, it's still a classical style. It's got an A, B, A, and a coda, sort of, yeah. So,
Very good.
so it's still, you know, very much in the classical form. Um, you know, obviously it's somewhat iconic as people have picked up on some of the figurations, like this figure. Let's see if I feel like some of these have sort of come are like, you know, people put that in little clips for not ringtones, but I mean some of the stuff, some of the figurations here have become sort of iconic. Um, Even, you know, in the spiritual community, here people have reference those kind of things. Anyway, that's my understanding of it on some level.
Excellent. Um, well, now Impressionism, you know, it certainly followed the Romantic era. Give me an artist that was also an impressionist. You know, music follows art, as in painters, right? And sculptors.
So an artist,
So,
but a musician.
what's that?
So you wanted an artist, but not a musician, or another musician.
Right, somebody who paints.
Yeah, I think Monet was an impressionist.
Exactly. Very good. Monet, if it, you know, when I listen to this piece, I see the lily ponds that he did. And let me ask you this before you start. Have you ever played with watercolors?
Way back in school, probably.
When you're in elementary school? Yeah. So, okay. Well, and he wrote this in his early 20s. It's kind of was a start, a point in the direction of how he saw Impressionism. So, all right. With all of that, let's start.
That was harder than the music. All right.
Outstanding. Yeah. Really wonderful, Jared. A lot of different colors, characters. In the risoluto part, really. Well, by the way, what does risoluto mean in Italian?
I was assuming resolute is sort of strong and forceful.
Yeah, determined. Yeah, exactly. Very good, though. You know, the big thing for I would say is that it's got to breathe. It's got to take your time sometimes. And, you know, again, my perspective, and anytime I talk to you, it's going to be, how would you sing this? And it's the way that you create the colors, the direction of each of the notes. And you did a tremendous job ensuring that, if you will, the melody very understood. Sometimes just take your time, let it breathe, so that the people listening can really take in their heart the colors that you're trying to express and paint. Does that make sense?
That makes a lot of sense.
So, look, why don't you start again? You know, the first couple of measures, this begins just setting the tone, starting those watercolors, that lily pond, you know, and take your time on the on that the first few notes, just to set the tone, right?
Got it.
So, why don't you go ahead with the first page? I'm assuming you have the same music that I do, the same sheet music, but let's start there.
Before you start, one little thing. Some new people are here. Just mute yourselves, because Jared is hosting. A little difficult for him to play, be coached in muting yourself. So while somebody's performing or speaking, just mute yourself. Great. Thanks. I'll mute myself.
Okay, Jared. Excellent. Let me ask you on that, the last line there. You know, what direction? It seemed, you know, you have this stringendo, right? Which means that you're going to create anxiety, right? And then my feeling is that you could make the direction into the last measure of that ritardando, rather than stop the stringendo before that last measure.
Okay.
You know, but as soon as that poco a poco crescendo You know, you need to start creating that anxiety, that wonderment in the tune. Also, on the second line, I'm wondering about what are the most how are you going to sing and express that on the third line, the 1, 2, 3, the third and fourth measure. What?
Just so we're on the same page, this is before the poco a poco crescendo? You mean
Yeah,
like,
right when that starts.
right when it starts?
Yeah, what, you know, the high points, what direction you're going to give those, what, look, start it again. Let's look at this. By the way, the first couple of measures I thought were tremendous. You set the tone, you painted beautiful pastels, really excellent.
Thank you. Do you want me to start the poco a poco crescendo just from the beginning?
No, just start from the beginning. I love what you're doing.
All right, thank you.
Want to hear it again. Yes. I would try it on the last line, Jared, on the stringendo. I would move directly into that last measure, as in a crescendo, and then start the diminuendo with the ritardando. But the high point for me, or at least I want you to experiment with it, is that the crescendo goes into that last measure. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think the high point is the second note of the ritardando, because that's when he changes the rhythm. You're expecting a dotted and the eighth, and then he changes it to going back to
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Why don't you start at the poco a poco crescendo? Excellent. Excellent. I would even more. I would continue that crescendo into that last measure, and with your left hand, create that crescendo even more. Well, let's take that. Let's start the same place again. Okay. Good. The only thing in terms of subtlety would be the second measure of the poco a poco crescendo, you know, that probably accentuate that the G on that second measure as you do the C on the last line, as in, you know, it's a high point if you were to sing it, you know, bump, be, da, da. You don't want to hear me sing. But yeah, accent that second note more. But if you can create that crescendo even more into that last measure, and then why don't you do it again, and then let's keep at it. Go into that second page, okay? Excellent, excellent. So, yeah, I think you're doing a great job shaping this. A few points, you know, in the middle of the page, you know, where the tempo is.
Yeah.
Before that, take your time. It's an entirely different color. You know, it just take your time getting to that tempo, and you know, the poco mosso, you know, which means obviously a little bit more.
Yeah.
You know, I would make that crescendo more prevalent and give it a little bit more oomph. Why don't you take it from the top of the page?
Okay.
Excellent, excellent. Did that feel any different to you?
Yeah, just more, you know, sometimes I skip through 8 bars There's markings, there's composer markings in every other bar, so you can't just flow past it.
Okay, cool. Well, before I get in trouble, I would love to spend just about 2 hours on this with you, but I really enjoy what you're doing, Jared. You're extremely talented. But let me make a few points. At the end, you know, how you end is as important as how you begin. And I want you to take your time. Those are the last few colors that you're going to paint on this. It's very important. And take your time. Breathe. Breathe. So, look, why don't I wish everybody could have a miniature picture of a Monet lily pond, so they see what you're painting here. But why don't you take it from the beginning again and just do it for us? I really enjoy it.
Thank you. So from the top all the way through?
Yeah.
All
Is
right.
that all right? Really excellent, Jared. Really excellent. Yeah. Nicely done.
Thanks for your pointers. I appreciate it.
Jared, do you have the phone on your piano where you could see Stewart's gestures?
I can see it in a reflection from the piano.
Oh. I mean, sometimes it felt like it really synchronized, but there were a couple that I guess you couldn't see it. Yeah, I think it would be great to be able to have. Are you doing one device or two?
I have my iPad and I have my computer.
I see. Okay. To be able to see it on, you know, like if I'm doing a lesson, sometimes I'll split screen
Yeah.
so that the person who's playing can actually see me, you know, doing my gestures, whether it's, you know, whatever I'm teaching and so forth.
Oh, I can see it. I can see it reflecting off of the upright.
Well, good thing you got it upright right now. Oh, Jared, look. Here's the lilies on the pond.
There we go. That's what we were thinking about.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Stewart, I didn't pick up on that earlier. You must have mentioned it 3 times before I thought, I could Google this. Hey. So, thank you, Stewart. That was wonderful watching you two work together.
Thank you, Stuart.
It was fun. A lot of fun.
Next, we have the Romance, the Schumann Romance. And we have like 20 minutes, so then Abigail's going to play 2. Maybe just, I don't know, a small paragraph about what this song is about.
Ooh, putting me on the spot again.
Oh, I thought you said you knew. I thought you said you had some comments.
No, I have some comments. I know that it's at the middle romance of 3 that he wrote. It's 28, so I think he wrote it when he was in his, he would have been mid-20s, and I think he was in the middle of his courtship where he was separated from Clara, who was to become Clara Schumann at the time, and maybe they were corresponding clandestinely, and I think he sent her this piece of music, and it was kind of, I mean, you can hear very much in the melody, it's a duet, you know, of thirds on the thumbs, at least in the beginning, and the main theme of it. So it clearly is some sort of, love song, I guess you could say. And I heard, I don't know, I tried Googling it, I didn't read it anywhere, but I know I've read somewhere that in its day, this was sort of the fur-elise of its time, and that everybody sort of played this one. And somehow it's fallen out, and it's really not popular or played. Maybe it was too hard for for maybe the average piano player back then was much better than now. But certainly, it's such a moving melody, and the harmony is so subtle. And there's some parts. I mean, there's 2 cadences where the harmonies are so. I don't know enough about music theory, but they're it's pretty advanced harmonies even for where Schumann was at in his career. So I think
Right. Well, since it's a romance, let's talk about the, music, the emotional, is an emotional language. So let's just make a few notes about what's happening emotionally with this. It's a romance, so it's something about the feelings and love. What parts of love is here for you? Is it loss? Is it missing? Is it anxiety? Is it longing? Is it sad, tragic? Did somebody die? Have you put together a bit of a storyline for what's happening?
Musically, it's I'm gonna not know the correct term for it, but it's theme and then an intermezzo and then theme and then another intermezzo, a second intermezzo, and then a recap of the theme. So it's kind of like in Pathétique, the middle section, the second movement of Pathétique. I mean, Schumann does this a lot. We'll have like 2 intermezzi. I mean, to me, the theme is just is an expression of love. I mean, it's a duet. It's in third. It's the melody is a third. And the way that it falls on the thumbs. That's very much, I think, just an expression of love. And then I think both of the intermezzi are some sort of anticipation or you could call it anxiety, but especially the first intermezzo, it builds towards the, and both of them veer towards these unique harmonies that are somewhat dissonant uh, for romantic music, but then very quickly resolve back into the love theme. So I think, you know, I mean, we're extrapolating in his mind when we only know the circumstances, but there
Well, I
is
know.
at least
So there's two points where it gets above a mezzo piano, like in the second line of the second page, and then also there's a sforzando on the final page.
yeah.
So what feeling are we going for there, especially on the second page, second line?
I think it's almost like, you know, there the theme is interrupted and then it goes to the second intermezzo. So that's sort of like,
Well, let's think about interruption. Okay, so let's hear something getting interrupted then.
all right,
Okay? I'll go with that. I'll go with that.
all right. You ready to hear it?
I sure am.
All right, see if I'm ready to play it.
Thank you. Thank you. There's some gorgeous moments in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially when you, for me, I mean, I when you played the first section before the repeat, I felt you were introducing the characters, but then the second time you played it, I felt there was a much more deep feeling there.
Can't give it all away in the beginning.
Sorry?
Can't give it all away up front.
Well, you sure didn't. Thank you. No, I felt like a sense of longing there. And there was sadness in there too. So, I know, I think you've studied their romance. It's just a lot of ups and downs. And I wanted to point out to you that there's, there's 3 stabs on here. In the edition that supposedly, wait a minute, I'm gonna quote this, oh shoot, I don't think, anyway, it's the one that came from Clara's notes. I don't have the exact wording, because I just took off the page. There's different dynamics in each of the 3 staves, and I don't know if you have it in your part, but at measure 23, at the end of it, of measure 23, the crescendo's in the top voice. Do you have that, Jared?
Yeah.
You do? Great. And then, in between those 2 measures, 22 and 23, there's a little crescendo underneath the middle line.
In parentheses.
Oh, it is? Okay. Okay. And then you have your accents on the C sharp and the C sharp and then the E natural, right? In the middle voice? Great. So it sounds like you probably have the same thing. Could I, at the very end, at the end of the last 4 bars, it's pianissimo. I think at that point, you don't need to bring anything out, necessarily. I think you need to just take away some things.
Yeah.
Like the repeated C sharp in the upper voice. That one, what does that mean to you?
Hold on, I have Jerry Donat waiting to come in. Do we know him?
Who?
Jerry?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Okay, I'll let him in.
Make sure he's muted for now, because he's never come before.
All right.
That didn't sound very good, but
Got it.
welcome, Jerry. Okay, so what does that mean, those C sharps in there? At the end, that persistent same note, same note.
I think it just adds an element of, I don't want to say monotony because it's not monotony, but it's just, it sort of dilutes it a little. It just sort of mellows it out a little bit, spreads it out a little bit.
I see, okay, okay. Could we look at the second page?
Sure.
You could do it starting at measure 9, that middle section up until 18. I think I want to work on that with you.
Okay. So
And in general, with the way Clara approached her music was, to be very strict on the rhythm. The melody must come out, and no affectations. And I was glad not to see that. I rarely hear that from you anyway. No affectations, like pretending like you feel something when you really don't.
not my style.
Not really. But that happens a lot with music making. It's a bit quite dull.
There's a lot of bad music out there.
Sorry?
There's a lot of bad music out there.
Oh, gosh, yes. Very pretentious, just affectations and dripping of not real sugar.
On your face and not with your ears, then there's a problem.
Yeah. So can we start the B section at 9? And let's just take it up until, the end of 17.
Got it.
Okay. Okay, great, great. Okay, I did like it a little better. Maybe just talking about it helped. I would suggest your whole point, where you're going to, you have a build-up point where the accents are, but it's not written in the music, is that high C sharp. You're going there. After that, don't bring anything coming down, like the descending notes, the C sharp, B, G sharp, D sharp, B sharp. No, there's no B sharp. B natural. I wouldn't make any big deal about that. You hit that C sharp and just let it be over. And the rest of it, just let it settle in the dust. Maybe there's a point in their romance, there's a point in their story where it just gets hopeless. And so we're just going to have to put it aside. Something like that, Can we try, we're not going to do Scenes of Childhood this time. We'll do it next time, I think, pretty much, I'm sure. Can we try this one more time, that same section?
Sure.
Okay. Yeah, let's try it again. And Jared, I'm not hearing you that well. Are we switching over so I can hear it better? Let me turn my speaker up a little bit more.
Is it too soft?
For my taste, for my taste, I was still hearing too much after that C sharp.
Okay.
And to me, see, where is it? Speakers. Oh, shoot. Okay. And for me, the crescendo that comes later there, it's a crescendo within that very quiet. Let that next part where it goes, the out tempo, let it just sort of appear, not move toward it. Da 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 da. Ah, there it is. It's something like that. Can we try it again and see if we can push to that C sharp? I like the storminess of your octaves. I like that very much. You want to try it again? That was beautiful. That was beautiful. I loved everything with that. I'm going to make a technical suggestion.
Yeah.
On 16, can you play that with your fingers flatter? Somehow get on the pads a little bit more. It'll be a less direct sound.
Yeah, sure.
Can't see your hands now. Can we do it like the last, just at the top of the page, and let me see your hands again?
I have different pages than you, I think, so.
You have what?
I have different pages than you, so what's the measure number? What measure number?
Oh, so, okay, like at 13?
Okay.
I almost thought we had another John Cage piece. Yeah. Was it hard to play on the flatter fingers? I know you have such long fingers.
My fingers are too big for that. I can't go much flatter.
I know, I know. And I noticed you're under the piano more than I usually see you. Are your knees under more than you usually play?
Yeah, I'm working with it. It's really hard. Also because the upright is leaning down because the leg's broken. So,
God.
tilted forward. So I'm trying to manage.
Well, all right, that's interesting. All right, well, thank you. I mean, like Stewart said, I could go on and on about this one, but I think these are I think you have most of everything I would want to hear in this one. And I got the storminess in that section. There's another part, later. We don't have time to go into it at 24. That was beautiful. I really enjoyed hearing this. Thank you. And now we're going to go to Abigail, tuned up, I hope. Okay, beautiful. Thank you, Abigail. Your intonation is wonderful on this. And I know it was a challenge with learning this new finger pattern. I'd like to talk a little bit about some tempo.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's a waltz, and I think it was a little too slow. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. So more of that. Help to tighten up the bow. Maybe even practicing it with accents might be helpful. And then notice I'm not using much bow either. Down, up, up. So waltz is down, up, up, down, up, up. Down, up, down, up. And this is just tossed up. That might be a point in a country dance, an Irish dance, where they bow to each other. Let's do it one more time, and let's do it in the middle thirds. That's where you seem to have a really good bow control this morning, is that middle third. Too much bow, sweetheart. Way too much. Get it, bring it into here. Okay, you've been playing this for a long time, well, it's relatively long. You've been playing this for a few weeks, and you've been using lots of bow, and you've been figuring out what you're going to do with how much bow here. Now we need to shrink it down. It's kind of like you've dived into the ocean of this piece. You've dived into the ocean of this piece. You've seen all the little fishies, right? Now it's time to say, okay, I'm going to look at this thing from a distance now. I'm not in the ocean. I'm going to put it in a cup and bring it to yourself and bring it to us that way. So a little bit less microscopic. It's less bow. Okay? Lovely, lovely. Yeah, that was nice. Anybody else want to make comments on what they heard from this by just speeding the tempo up? Shannon, how about you?
It sounded a lot better the last time using less bow.
Yeah, everything else was still there. Most of the intonation was still there. The tone, the
Yep,
notes.
everything else sounded perfect to me.
Cool, good. I loved it. I liked it a lot better that way. A little bit faster. So Abigail, you want to say bye-bye to this piece, or you want to keep working on it?
I can move on to something else.
Move on to something else? Okay. I know you just had a lesson. So let's drop it, and they'll give you, and then just work on everything else that you have going.
All right.
I'm gonna bring for next time. I guess I could touch on it a little bit, and it's about our relationship with our audience when we play. As performers, we must love our music, and of course learning about it and caring enough to learn about what we're playing, learn about the composer, because they're writing it. But there's also not only loving the music, loving the composer, but also loving our audience. If we're afraid of the audience, if we're so caught up in ourselves that we're worried about our mistakes that we're going to make, that really shuts the audience out. Because if you're afraid of an audience, you certainly can't love them. In a live audience situation, I'm really lucky because I get to, up until recently, was able to play live a lot and very often. Oftentimes solo, which was really great. But there's an energy in the room that's felt like from a performer, if the performer is listening while they perform. And I don't mean just listening to what they play, because yes, you have to do that too. But also listening. What is going on in the audience? Not the coughs, not the sneezes. Listen and feel what's happening with the audience, and do that at the same time. That's a very dynamic experience to have. But now we have Zoom, we have Skype, we have webinar. How do we fulfill the purpose of music now? And I think we have to not expect to see those beating hearts in the audience, but how do we love our listeners? I think what I'm trying to do, what I'm working with, like when I played that today, I wasn't really thinking about all you out there. I was thinking about humanity and loving the best of who we are as humans. And I think about that before I perform. I think about the goodness. There's a lot of goodness, believe it or not. There's so much goodness that's happening in the world. All the time, no matter what is terrible going on, there is tremendous goodness. And embracing that and loving that and appreciating that is my way of loving my audience. So I just thought I would share that with you, and thanks for coming. See you in 2 weeks.